Welcome back to another video, guys. So as you can see from the title below, as you can see from the title in this PowerPoint, let's dive right in. All right. So why your body hasn't changed even after years of working out. So this is a common thing. This is actually a very important video that I needed to record because not only has this saved me in terms of making gains, but it's something that really people don't understand when it comes to training, when it comes to progressive overload. You just hear this thing over and over again without really diving deep in like what is being talked about. So, most guys spend years, including myself, in the gym and their body looks the same. They wonder like, oh but I'm training, I'm going every day, like why isn't my physique changing? Why isn't it looking like these certain type of people I see online, all that stuff, or oh, they just want to blame it on the steroids and stuff and think that, someone with a great physique the only way he achieves that is through, pinning the needle and just juicing and stuff. But the reason why is because most are making this mistake over and over again. This common mistake that I see in the gym or just when I talk to people on a day-to-day basis. But in today's video, I'm going to be breaking it down in terms of how to actually grow your muscle and transform your body. So one of the things that kind of slows people down is just no progressive overload. It's just like, let's take it for example, if you're benching 185 for 3 sets of 8 this year and you still at the same weight next year, all that time, all those days grinding, going through the gym was just time wasted. And muscle grows only when you force them to adapt. So what does that mean? So let's take it for week one. That same weight, 185, 3 sets of 8. And then by week 8, it's 205 for 3 sets of 8. That's progression. That's actual growth. So the rule in terms of understanding progressive overload is adding 5 to 10 pounds or more reps or more sets over time. If you guys just stick to the same thing in terms of weight, and it's week 8 and you're still, 185, but it's moving smooth like butter and you think that's progression, that's not. You actually have to increase in some way, shape, or form, whether that's through the pounds, whether that's reps or more sets. So another common thing is just having the wrong exercise selection, right? So some of you guys just spend way too much time, focused on the videos that you're seeing on TikTok, whether that's, oh, do cable flies to build your chest, oh, bicep curls, oh, ab crunches, and you're not even understanding how to properly structure your workouts. You know, your body's going to respond to compound lifts such as like squats, deadlifts, bench presses, pull-ups, rows, and the thing is with those exercises, like that's what's going to build the most out of it. And some people don't even have these. Some people will neglect some of these compound lifts and focus on whatever video they saw on TikTok or like one exercise, and they think that that's the one all exercise to do in order to grow your muscles, whether it's chest, whether it's biceps, whether it's legs. They go off one video and think that's the secret to everything. But let me break it down even in terms of calories, right? So let's say you do 3 sets of 10 curls, which only burns like 100 calories, compared to three sets of 10 in squats, which burn 300 calories burned, and you get a full body activation. Those big lifts, those compound lifts are going to give you the most muscle and strength per minute, so like if you think if you want to start off, like there's ways obviously that you can activate your muscles at the beginning of the workouts, but when you neglect any of those compound lifts and then you think that sticking to the accessory work such as curls or cable flies are gonna do it in terms of transforming your body, they're simply not. So another common thing when it comes to why your body doesn't change is simply you guys don't track, like Most of the weights, we can talk about, oh, adding pounds, adding sets, adding reps, but most of you guys don't even track. Whether you do it old school notepad or the device in our hands that we carry 24/7. There's a feature in there called notes where you can actually write down what exercise you're doing and track the weights, sets, reps, all that. But what do most guys do? They wing it. So they have no logbook, no notes, no progress. But the solution to this is simply track every set. For example, you bench 200 pounds for 8 reps, 7, 6. Then next week, in terms of progression, again. But the only way you're going to know this is once you write down. So then, going back to this point, when you get to that next week, you aim for now 8 reps, and then 8 reps again, and then 7. Because the numbers aren't going to lie to you. But without tracking, if you're just going to do this and wing it and think like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do this workout. Oh, this feels nice. That was a good set. And then next week you come into that gym and you just go, what did I do last week? You already lost, bro. And you're just wasting gains at that point. So another thing when it comes to just transforming your body and wasting years in the gym is overtraining and under recovering. This is this is one that people really undermine when it comes to training. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand that muscles don't grow in the gym. It grows while you recover. So signs that you're not recovering well. You're always sore, right? A common thing, especially in the beginning of everyone's journey, they think like, oh, like, it's good to be sore, right? It's good to be sore, right? But it's okay to begin with if you're freshly starting new, because obviously your body isn't used to the tension or the amount of force that's getting put through. But if it's a very common thing where it's just like every day and going off to these next points, like you start having you start having weak lifts, like weak, like you always feel like you just like nothing's recovering at all, which will lead to low motivation. The quick fixes to though all those signs are basically knowing that you aren't recovering well, like at all. And the only way you're gonna fix this, guys, is just make sure you get to at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You know, 6 minimum, guys. But you hear it all the time. Sleep recovery is important, but it's just like you guys have to understand that sleep is just as important too. Like sleep, at least 6. I get, some guys, I have clients who work like 12 plus hours, but again, they found a way to even get in sleep 6 hours at least. But 7 to 9 is definitely a good range in terms of sleep. And if you think, oh, well, I don't have time, it's like, yeah, you do. Like most of the time, you're just doom scrolling, you're doing some kind of bullshit, and you got to find whatever that is and eliminate it. Another thing, in terms of how you can fix not recovering properly, is having at least 1 to 2 days of rest days. A lot of people think that you have to go each and every single day when it comes to the gym, when that is not the case. You're not going to be able to recover. That's one. But two, it's just you're not leaving no room for your muscles to build, which obviously, going off to my next point, nutrition is just as important on that, like the nutrition outside of the gym and stuff. But just even a rest day, guys, like there's certain ways that certain splits are set up, but the reason why they're set up that way is to not bounce off the same muscle group back to back. There's, on push pull legs, there's a rest in between for a reason, guys. It's not just set up. Push pull legs isn't just set up for you to not recover properly, but it goes with each and every single set. So this is something I have to even remind some of my clients, because they'll think that if they skip over a workout and they can just do it the next day on a rest day, you have to realize that the rest in general is part of the training. The rest days are set up in a way for those specific muscle groups to recover. But if you just go over one, the only way you can bounce off that is to either slide everything down. So let's say you always work out on Monday through Friday, and then Friday comes, and then you decide to work out Saturday instead of that Friday. well, then everything has to shift down. So now it's like, now next week has to start on Tuesday. And then now your rest days are Friday and then Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's stuff like that, but that people don't realize in terms of rest days. But rest days are set up in a way so that you can recover. So always remember that in terms of how you can fix things when it comes to overtraining or under recovering, you know, like pay attention to the signs of always being sore or having weak lifts, you know, and that's obviously going to lead to low motivation to you not even going, but just making sure that your sleep's on point, sticking to your rest days, mobility and stretching too, guys, like, you know, do that way before, especially with shoulders, you know, especially with shoulders or any like chest, you know, or legs, dude. Like like legs, you want to obviously get the blood flow in terms of like the bike and stuff. Like you want to get some blood flow before you like go into your leg exercises. But in terms of like stretching and stuff like that, yeah, definitely for shoulders because you know a lot of people throughout the years they neglect that and then they'll have common injuries in those areas. So don't forget to work on mobility and stretching as well. But next point, dialing into the nutrition. Now, I already talked about a video on this on my channel, so you can go over and look for it in terms of Whole Foods, I believe. I'll see if I can find it and I'll link it down below. If not, someone can remind me in the comments, but it should definitely be there in the channel. But nutrition is gonna kill progression. You know, like if you can't outtrain a poor diet, like that will always stay true to the end of time. You can't outtrain a bad diet. So like for example, some guy burns like 400 calories lifting, right? But then you eat 1200 calories in pizza afterwards. Like that that's not gonna that's not gonna have you have no fat loss whatsoever because you're already going over like it just doesn't make sense. You're burning 400 and then you're having something 1200. Like that's just simple math right there. Like you're not gonna you're not gonna have no fat loss after that. Like you're gonna gain fat. You're gonna stay stuck, and then you're gonna wonder why. So the key thing in terms of nutrition, always understand that. Like protein is king. So always aim for your body weight in terms of like your intake, because most of you guys, again, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. So most of you guys don't need to go past your body weight in grams in terms of protein. You know, you don't have to go high protein, you know, and people just hear high protein, high protein, high protein, but it's like you just have to hit your protein goal in terms of your body weight daily. That should always be the aim every day. So like, you know, for 100 pound, for someone who's 180 pounds, you know, like I get it, everyone's budget, you know, everyone has budget and stuff like that. But like even for a 180-pound man, aim at least close to that 180. 180 is the ideal, but if you're on a budget and stuff like that, at least around that 150 range. But you don't have to go over than that because without it, you're never gonna grow. You know what I mean? We need that protein to help us in terms of recovery. But yeah, without it, you're just never gonna grow and you're gonna stay stuck if you're not consistent with it. So going on to my next point, the only right way to do this, guys, is to track your lifts, chase progression, stick to big compound exercises. Like, do not neglect any compound exercises at all. Record everything. You know what I mean? Like record everything. Record your sets, reps, weights. Understand, you know, how many sets you're doing, how many reps, what you should be doing next week. Because that shit's important, guys. Like, if you don't track anything in terms of your sets, reps, weight, like you're not gonna know what you need to push on. And this is where a common theme where it's just like I understand where you have to understand that you're not pushing yourself as much as you think you are until you start actually recording everything. You know, and this is where a lot of people spend years wasted because they don't track anything. They don't understand what progressive overload means. So imagine you busting your ass off January all the way up to the December, still doing relatively the same weight, and you're frustrated, wondering why have I made progress? Why hasn't my body changed? One is definitely through diet, but two, to actually grow your muscles, you need to track your progression in each and everything in terms of sets, reps, and weights. And not only that, but recover hard. Like recovery just as serious as you guys train. You know, a good quote I always like to go by is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you think in terms of just like you understanding progressive overload, but then you neglect the crucial part, which is the recovery, like you're just gonna yo-yo back to doing the same old habits and not really see the results you want. You know, so understand that even with tracking everything in terms of the weights and what you do in the gym, it's just as important to recover just as hard too, you know. So making sure you're dialing in on the sleep, making sure your nutrition's on point, stress management, bro. We all go through, you know, we're all in this life, so of course there's gonna be things in terms of stress that's gonna be like coming up frequently, you know, whether that's jobs, whether that's work, whether that's family, all that stuff. We all go through the same shit, but recovering is just like this is why recovering is so crucial because it's just like when moments like that happen, but you're recovering on point, at least it's alleviating that stress rather than adding on top because a lot of people don't even realize when it comes to stress and working out that has a negative effect too if you don't have that under control. So that's just as important. And and to kind of wind it back to the whole diet is eat to support your goals. You know what I mean? Like if you're going for a fat loss, like make sure you're in a deficit. You know, make sure you're in a deficit. That's the only way. We're going for fat loss, not weight loss. Keep in mind, because a lot of people just think about the scale and stuff. We got to go for fat loss. You know, so the only way you're gonna do that is be in a deficit no matter what. So how do you do that? You got to track your food as well. And then if you want for muscle gain, if you want to go for more a bulk, not a dirty bulk, but if you want to go for more of a bulk, like a lean bulk, which I highly suggest because you actually get to maintain and see and track everything at a manageable pace rather than dirty bulk and then having to do a whole bunch of extra work after that to cut. You know, so in terms of surplus for muscle gain, you know, a lean bulk definitely got to be in a surplus. But yeah, just eat to support your goals. If you're not on a lean bulk and you're eating over your maintenance, let alone your deficit, you're probably not doing things correctly. You know, so yeah, in terms of just this is the right way to changing your body, you know, to having the transformation that you actually want. Not going years, not going years and wondering and being frustrated because guys, to be honest, man, it really takes up to 3 to 6 months, but you'll see some guys in the gym years on end and still looking relatively the same. And it doesn't have to be the case, but a lot of, you know, this is the info that a lot of people lack. So if you take everything in terms of this video and apply it starting today, you'll definitely start seeing some changes within your physique. You know, even a month in, maybe even a month in, but definitely for real long lasting gains, 3 to 6 months is all it takes, guys. So in conclusion, yeah, just stop wasting years with no results. Train smarter and not longer. You know, so don't just guys. If you've been like stuck for years, you know, there's got to be a change. There's got to be a switch up. So if you want guidance, accountability that helps you understand what you need to do, helps you understand how to progress when it comes to the gym, and be part of a community of like-minded people who are sticking to their goals and crushing it each and every single day. That's exactly what I built inside the KM program. So if you're someone who's interested in having that accountability and system, definitely be sure to click the link down below and book a call with me and my team. And we'll see in terms of your goals where we're sitting at and what we'd like to achieve. And we'll go from there. But thanks for tuning into this video, guys. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next video. See you.